you must have a good drunken Captain Lou Albano story.
Oh my God.
Or 10.
Or 10. Well, I should tell you, I've spoken many times about, we'd go to, usually it was a garden show on Monday, but if not, something else. So from there, we'd go to Allentown Tuesday and Hamburg, Pennsylvania on Wednesday. And that's where we did 3 hours of TV in Allentown and 3 hours in Hamburg. And we all the day previous to the 3 hours of shooting that night, we would do interviews, and they would bicycle around all the different markets from Philadelphia to Boston to Washington D.C. to New York to Pittsburgh, all around the small towns in between that. So we're doing interviews all day. So Lou would start with glasses, cups. He'd get paper cups of vodka, and he'd start with his bottle of vodka, and he'd have one would be vodka, one would be water, then water and vodka, 7-Up and vodka. He'd end up with about 6 or 7 cups there, and he's drinking out of all the cups. Eventually, not a lot of food or whatever. He'd get a little buzz going on in there. So normally that Tuesday was a payoff day. They'd catch up with you, or at least they'd catch up with the managers. They used to pay off in the towns that, and they'd settle up with you in cash, Jersey or New York, or a lot of the towns that we were wrestling back in the original days of the old WWF. They settled up, so you'd hear the managers would be getting paid, and you'd hear Lou starting to get a little loaded. That Irish son of a. And then it's like that no good Irish. So then by the end of the night, he's fine. He's doing. So he goes up. Well, yeah, obscene, obscenity, extra, bleep, bleep, bleep. You cheat us out of there. Taking all the money and everything else, and then invariably he'd get fired, and Wednesday he'd come back like a puppy dog to get hired again. And after that Tuesday show, they had you'd have to get invited. It's called the King's Table, where the bookers and some guys, and they'd ask you back some of the top guys to come and to eat at the table. And they'd always, whatever you wanted. And New York, Pennsylvania, they'd have great huge selection. So Lou would get 3 lobster tails and the big thing of butter, and sitting there all loaded, and he'd rip the lobster and be holding the lobster tail out and go, and he'd stick the lobster, and he'd be eating like a corn dog, just be eating the lobster, and he'd be dipping. Oh my God, that was the inspiration for all that meatball sandwich that got me got me rolling into, because after I came out of the singles matches with Jimmy, we were breaking off into a tag match, me and Lou and Jimmy and Buddy Rogers. So my impression of the meatballs was I was trying to be like Lou, and eating meatballs and drinking soda and stuff like that, but he was just a character. It was all the time, just he'd turn on. And then from Tony Altamori, the guy was his partner. He said, away from that, after that Tuesday, Wednesday, or after a night in the garden, he was like a little puppy, with his wife and kids. He was as meek as a little lamb. Our first time up from Florida, they brought a bunch of Bob Armstrong, myself, Robert Fuller, Mike Graham. They brought about a half a dozen baby faces up, and they're opening the Spectrum in Philadelphia. The big, I think they got rid of it since just in the last 10 years, but they're opening the Spectrum in Philadelphia. So the inaugural match, they had an inaugural battle royal in that, and Lou had a feud going on. We didn't know what was going on, but Lou had a feud going on with somebody, and I think he was managing Bobby Duncombe or somebody at the time. So he had a feud, against whoever the babyface Duncombe was with, which was the champion, but something else. But Lou had something where he's getting color in the battle royal, and everybody that got near Lou got cut. And I think my first blade job was in Philadelphia in the Spectrum in that battle royal, Lou had blades all over his fingers. He'd have the razor blade with him, a pocket knife. I mean, he was good to go.
Did
Just
you have
covered with
did you
blades.
have the honor of like working maybe a singles match with him or working as a tag with him and seeing firsthand the bah thing going on?
Oh yeah, stand in the middle of the ring. But you didn't worry till he pulled out the straight edge razor. He cut his cheek. He cut his cheek. He'd stick his tongue. He said, "Look," and with all he had the rubber bands and stuff on his he's stick look here. He stick his tongue to the side of his cheek. It's like Butcher Brannigan in Australia. He would says, "Look how deep I have to cut." And he rips it apart. Another fucking 8 stitches worth.
Jesus Christ.
Genius.
How he made friends with Cyndi Lauper on that airplane, I have no idea. I would have been looked at him and think, "Oh, dude, can you move my seat?"
Oh, in person he was in person he was enthralling, entertaining individual, with jokes and things and talking. Later on, he was an enchanting guy to get locked up with. He'd tell you stories and stories about his mom. Then we wanted to get the artificial hip or something. She was like 80-something years old, and said, "What am I going to do in 10 years?" I said, "Don't wait, Mom. Don't worry about 10 years. Get it now. You're 80 years old." But yeah, he was an entertaining cat. He could talk your ears off.